thank BVI for inviting me to speak. I've been using their latest generation trifocal now for a year and a half. So I'd just like to share with you my experiences, and these are real world experiences, so it's not part of a study where I've excluded certain patients to make it as perfect as possible. So this is what you can expect to achieve in a real world population of patients. So these are my financial interest declarations. So like I said, I've been using the HP, and then when the HP toric became available, I've been using it for more than a year. Many of you are experienced with the previous generation, but this one is hydrophobic, but still maintains a 4-point fixation, which is really great in my view, and I'll explain to you later why. So this is the sort of the design, the 4-point fixation, the apodization, and some of the defocus curves that you can see, and the MTF compared to a competitor lens. It's got a really good spherical and dioptric range, so that's really important for you to be as flexible as possible. In my use, I mainly use the lowest diopter for cylindrical correction, and I'll explain to you why later on. So this is the cylinder corrections as I discussed earlier. So it's not preloaded, but actually it's very, very easy to load. I can't play the video for you, unfortunately, but it's very easy to load. It takes a matter of seconds. All you have to do is make sure that the two eyelets are positioned like so, so that you know that the lens will unfold correctly into the eye. The injection itself is really, really smooth. It unfolds rapidly and immediately stabilizes and centers within the eye. And this is what I like about it, because I use a lot of toric lenses. So 70 to 80% of my patients will receive a toric lens. And the reason for that is I do a toric calculation for every single patient. So I don't base my toric calculation on their preoperative corneal astigmatism. I base it on their predicted residual astigmatism if I don't use a toric IOL. So that's really important. And what you can see here is the rotation with this lens is minimal, almost zero, and it's very stable. And the nice thing as a surgeon is when you implant it and you want to rotate it, if you have an open C loop, you can only rotate it one way. And if you go too far that way, you have to rotate it all the way around again. And that is quite annoying, let me tell you. So what's really nice is you can rotate it to the axis that you want. You can remove the viscoelastic from in front or behind the lens. It's stable. It doesn't rotate one way or the other. But if it does slightly, you can rotate it back the other way, even under irrigation aspiration control. So this is looking at real world results. So we looked at this retrospectively. 174 eyes, 95 patients, quite a big range. So from high myopes to high hyperopes. So that's an indication of how good the dioptric range is for the lenses. And even with a high-powered lens, you can implant it to very small incision with the injector, which is also great. So there were no operative complications. And again, a majority of the patients received a toric version of the lens. And actually, they only had a small amount of pre-existing corneal astigmatism, because I'm not basing my decision on their pre-existing corneal astigmatism. I'm basing my decision on a calculated, predicted residual astigmatism, and that's really important. So the other thing that I want to say is being really transparent, about what happened with some of these patients. So some of them had raised intraocular pressures, which is normal. 2 had post-op uveitis. 1 had an unexpected refractive outcome. But I want you to look at this, PCO. So I've been used to using a hydrophilic trifocal, and the PCO rates were much, much higher. And to have only, 2 patients with PCO over that period of time, and only 1 patient actually complaining of glare and halos, which was disturbing them, in that number of patients, it's actually quite significant, I would say. So these are the results. I can tell you, we haven't optimized the lens constants as yet, but even out of the box, we could get more than 80% of our patients uncorrected 20/25 or better for distance. And what you can see is 96% of patients either did not have if they were clear lens extraction or cataract patient, did not have a change or had an improvement of up to 2 lines of best corrected visual acuity post-operatively. So that's also quite significant for a multifocal lens. In terms of the spherical equivalent targeting, you can see here it's quite tight in the middle. So 80% were within plus or minus 0.5, and 96% were within plus or minus 1. So, I was quite happy for a new lens in my hands to have those types of results. And the astigmatism correction. Like I said, most of these patients post-operatively will have significantly reduced astigmatism. And that's really important if you want them to have good visual performance with a trifocal intraocular lens. So that's why it's important to use as many torics as possible in these patient groups. So this just to demonstrate binocular visual acuity. So that was uniocular before. So quite a high percentage of spectacle independent patients. Again, same type of data, but looking at the sort of refractive targeting. So in conclusion, in summary, I'd say the results are very, very predictable. And as a surgeon, you want to have a really wide range of diopters to choose from, both spherical and for your astigmatic correction. Really, really easy to load, very smooth implantation through a really small incision. The toric is exceedingly stable, and you can rotate it clockwise or anti-clockwise. Patients are really happy because visual quality is really, really good. So thank you very much for your attention.